to Totalus Rankium. This week, Augustus. Hello and welcome to Totalus Rankium again, number 2.
Yes, episode 2, first real episode where we rank an emperor. And it's Augustus this week, as you should have just heard in the intro.
Yes, and I want one interesting fact that I learnt, because I don't know anything else. Augustus, they named a month after him.
Yeah.
The month of May.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because obviously his first name was Maybe.
Maybe Augustus.
Yes, that's his full name.
Right, so as you may be able to tell...
Maybe, see?
Jamie hasn't done any research.
Nope.
I have done a fair amount of research. I even got some little post-it notes that were different colours.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really sweet.
See, I'm organised, far more organised than I ever was at university.
And you are in your job.
And I am in my job, yeah.
Excellent.
I'm taking this seriously.
Oh,
right,
good.
Okay, so first things, before we start, in our haste to get going last week, we didn't actually introduce ourselves. So, I am Rob.
And I am Jamie.
And that's probably all you need to know, really.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are doing this.
Yes, that talk at a microphone.
Okay, so we're going to be ranking Augustus to Augustulus, which I said last week with pride and enthusiasm.
And a little bit of trepidation.
A little bit.
There's something like 86.
Yes, yeah, and also I also knew that in the future we're going to get to a stage where the empire splits, and I really wasn't sure what we were going to do, but I've had to think about it. We're going to go to Theodosius I, and then we're only going to cover the east.
Yes.
No, west.
West.
Not
yes.
the east,
no.
obviously, that goes into Byzantium.
Yeah.
Right, so, Augustus. Background stuff on him. He was the first emperor. So he's where it begins.
Number 1.
He's also considered by many to be the best emperor.
Is that just because he was the first one? So he's set the standard. So he's the best, or
Well, yeah, this
tradition?
is it. I mean, well, when I first started doing my research, I was determined to find out that he was actually quite mediocre. We were going to find lots of other great emperors, but I must admit, and you'll discover this as we go on, we've got quite a bit to cover today. It might be longer than the rest of the episodes will be.
Started then.
Yeah, so it's going to get a little bit confusing, possibly.
Right.
Because he went by many names. He was born as Gaius Octavius.
Right, Gaius Octavius.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
That's
I'm just
like
going to
8.
briefly cover this now, and I'm probably going to use 3 names throughout this, because I'm going to stick to convention.
I'm going to have to write these down.
Write them down. So, he started off as Octavius.
Right.
At some point, he gets adopted by someone. We won't ruin that.
Okay.
But when he gets adopted, he changed his name to something that I won't ruin, but historians from that point call him Octavian.
Octavian.
Yes, Octavian. And then he was Octavian for a while, and then finally, when the Senate declared him Augustus, he changed his name to Augustus. Although no one ever called him Augustus in his lifetime, really. It was more of a title. They called him Princeps, which meant first citizen. Princeps.
Okay.
His friends would call him Gaius.
Guy.
G-Man.
G-Dog.
Yeah, any of those. And his...
Geezer.
Who knows? Right, so he was born Octavius to the Octavii family. They were a well-respected equestrian family.
Horses.
Yes, horses. They were knights.
I know that. My wife likes horse riding, so I've heard of that when she watched the Olympics.
That's nice. That's twice now you've mentioned your wife. I'm starting to hope that she becomes like Columbo's wife.
Yes.
And you never see her. Well, obviously, it's a podcast.
Or it just but it just turns out I don't actually have one. I'm just mental.
Yeah, that could be good. So, equestrian, they're called
Horses.
that because they could afford horses. They were the knights. They're the middle class of Rome,
Okay,
basically.
so quite well off.
They were quite
Bit
well
of
off.
cash.
His great-grandfather Octavian, Octavius, fought in the Second Punic Wars.
Oh, we did them last week.
We did that last week.
I know about them.
That was the one where they had the secret weapon.
The planks and the nails.
The plank and the nails. So who knows? Maybe he was a plank holder in that war.
I like that.
We don't know. So he came from a fairly well-to-do family, but they weren't anything really special. His father managed to become a novus homo, which was a phrase I used last week. Can you remember what that was?
New man?
Yeah, new man. He
Yes.
was a senator. He didn't rise right to the top, but he was the first one in his family to become a senator.
Yeah.
And because of this, he was able to marry into the Julian family. Yeah, we know some Julians, don't we?
Yes, there's Julian Bashir from Star Trek.
Yes, there is.
There we go.
Yeah. So, Gaius Octavius, the father,
Yeah.
and the mother, Attia, gave birth on the 23rd of September 63 BCE. He was held up for inspection. In Rome, the father would hold the boy when they were born and inspect them, and if it was a girl, they'd just say, yeah, that will do. Go and feed them, because this is truly misogynistic Rome. Apparently, Octavius narrowly avoided being chucked out on the streets because he was a bit of a weakling.
So that's not a good start, though, is it?
It's not a good start.
Yeah, best emperor in the world, but a little bit weak.
Well, you're going to find a lot of this.
Bit of a wimp.
And this might go against him in the points later on.
Oh, okay.
Right, and his father died when he was only 4.
Oh.
Yeah. Octavius went to school and met 2 very important friends. You're going to have to make a note of these names.
Right.
In fact, you possibly might have heard of them before. The first one is Marcus Agrippa.
Marcus Agrippa.
Agrippa actually means feet first. He was born feet first.
Yeah. He was breech.
Yeah.
That's bottom first, though, isn't it?
I suppose feet bottom.
I was born breech.
You're Agrippa then?
I'm Agrippa, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm famous.
I didn't know that about you.
No, there you go.
We're getting closer. And then his other friend was called Maecenas. Maecenas. Yeah, so he made 2 friends. Agrippa was sporty, athletic. He was basically everything Octavian wasn't. He was a bit of a weakling.
It's like the geek kids hanging out with the cool kids.
Yeah, Maecenas was bucky, well, scrolly, I suppose, and
a bit parchmenty.
Yeah. So I can't help but feel those 2 just hung around Agrippa because he was a bit cool. I'm not sure. Right. So, as you should remember from the last episode, he had a very important uncle. Well, great uncle technically.
Yes.
Which was
Tacticus?
No.
Aeneas?
The most famous Caesar. Caesar, sorry, Roman, I gave it
up. Yes, yes, of course. Hadrian.
Yes, Julius Caesar.
Yes, Julius Caesar.
JC, big JC. He started hanging out with Julius Caesar. Caesar rose him up to be a patrician, so he's no longer equestrian, he's a patrician. He's now up in the higher class.
So he has clout.
He's got more clout now, even though he's really young. It's the first real sign that we've got that he is important to Caesar. And then he's invited to go off to Spain with Caesar to go and fight Pompey the Great's sons.
I've heard of Pompey.
Yes. Remember, he died last episode in Egypt.
Yes.
But his sons, who witnessed it, ran off to Spain.
That was it.
So Caesar's now got to go and sort those 2 out.
Hunting them down.
He is hunting them down.
Like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yes. Only maybe slightly less hairy.
I hope so.
So I've got a mullet theory about the Romans.
Have you? What's your theory, Colin?
I think that when it hit the 80s in every century, mullets became fashionable.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
we're for 60 years' time.
Yeah. It's bound to happen. Anyway, so he was invited to go to Spain with Caesar, but, and as you've mentioned before, it's not a good sign that he seemed sickly at birth. An illness delayed him.
Oh.
So he couldn't go. So he had to watch Caesar and all the armies go off, and he had to stay at home with Mom.
That's very embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing.
For a future emperor.
Yeah, and there are rumours. Did he stay behind because he was ill? Or did he stay behind because he was ill? And the listeners can't see my little inverted comma fingers.
Ill. Yeah. Wink, wink.
Yeah, so it's a bit hard to tell. Eventually, he recovers from this illness, and he goes off to Spain, and he arrives and says, "Caesar, I'm here!" And he looks around and realises that the war's over.
How convenient.
Convenient.
Yeah, I can't see why anyone would question the illness.
He slapped his knee in frustration.
Yes.
Said, "Shucks."
I bet he got on knees, like, you know, the end of Planet of the Apes. damn you all to hell.
Yeah, it's probably tears in his eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Oscar winning.
He missed the fighting. Gnaeus Pompey was killed,
Oh.
but Sextus Pompey,
Oh.
younger brother, survived.
Yes.
Right, I'm just adding that in there. That was the fight
Right.
to Spain. You
So-
just remember Sextus Pompey.
I'm going to remember that name.
That's fine, because I listened to Life of Caesar podcast by
Right.
Ray and Cam.
That's the really good one, yeah.
Fantastic podcast. Go and listen to it. Yeah, they refer to him as Sexy P, so he is always Sexy P in my mind. So Sexy P escapes.
Nice.
Right. Okay.
With a name like that, you would have to.
When Caesar was cleaning up Spain, so the war was over, but
Yeah.
Caesar then, being Caesar, he was always making everything perfect.
Massive broom.
Yeah, he got his broom out, sweeping up all the rebels. So he got to know Octavius quite well at this point.
Yeah.
It's probably when he decided to put him in his will.
And I'm guessing it's not for money.
Well,
it could
partly for money,
And palaces and stuff.
but something else is in there. We'll get to that in just a moment. They go back to
Yeah.
Rome, and then Caesar starts planning the invasion of Parthia. He sent off Octavius to Illyricum, which is just over the water from Spain,
Okay.
to prepare for the war. Marcus Agrippa and Maecenas probably went with him. They were sorting out the armies. They're still very young at this point.
Yeah.
But the armies start to get to know Octavius. Octavius starts to get to know the army. They're there for a few months preparing when the Ides of March
I've heard of
happen.
that.
Yes, that is when Caesar gets killed by the group, which we covered briefly last week. So, and I'm going to try very hard to keep this about Augustus and not get sidetracked by what's happening with Caesar.
It's a big event, right?
It's a very big event.
It leads into
it.
Power.
But as much as I'd love to go into all the details, we're just going to say Caesar was killed by a group of men,
Yes.
two of which were Brutus
Yeah.
and Cassius, because they do come back into the story.
I'm guessing if Augustus really loved Caesar
Yeah.
and it was his pal, he's not going to be too well. He's not going to be happy with Brutus and Cassius, is he?
He's not going to be happy.
He's not going to high five them and invite around for lunch.
He's not. He's going to do the opposite,
Ooh.
which would be a low five.
So he'll invite everyone else except those two.
And they feel really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's going to do something. So the first Octavius knew about this is he receives a letter in Illyricum.
Right.
Your uncle's dead. The Parthian invasion's called off. Octavius jumps on a boat and goes back to Italy to go and be with his family.
And he missed another war as well.
Yeah, another war that he didn't get to go to. Again, he must have slapped his knee in frustration.
Yes. Damn you all to hell!
So he arrives back in Italy, and then he receives another letter. This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Because this letter says, not only has your uncle died, he has left all his money. Well, not all. Let's be accurate here. He left a lot of his money to Octavius. His clientele, so all the people who were in debt to Caesar, now are in debt to Octavius.
Nice.
Yeah. And also, most importantly, he adopted him.
So he'd be the heir.
He is the heir. But of course, they're in a democracy. They're in a republic. There are no heirs.
Well, of course.
But he is the heir to the Caesar family. It's a very big, important thing to be. And he's not even 20 yet. He's still very young. His mother and his stepfather both write to him and say, don't accept it. They've just killed off Julius Caesar. You do that, you're still a boy. They'll come and kill you straight away.
And, you won't get any power. It'll be a pretty boring lifestyle.
Yeah. What does happen in Rome is Mark Antony, Caesar's biggest general,
heard of him,
takes over. Because he is, in real life, Caesar's heir. Not in name, but he is in the position where he can just step into that power vacuum. Yeah, so
is just from respect or just because he's got the authority, do you think?
A bit of both. Okay. There was some respect, there was some authority, although Antony's personality is hard to gauge. And throughout history, people have either portrayed him as a brute who used force or a really conniving, clever person. You can kind of see different versions. Shakespeare was quite positive to him. HBO's Rome portrayed him in quite a good light.
And both those being fantastic historical accounts.
Both very historically accurate, both those
Yeah.
things. But then you'll come across other things where he's just a brute. It's
Okay.
But you can form your own opinion as you find out more about him later on.
I will.
So Antony takes over Rome essentially.
Tony, right?
Yeah, Tony.
Big tone.
Octavius. No, sorry, Octavian. This is where it changes to Octavian.
See, I can see why I'm confused. Yeah, so it's Octavian now.
So now he's been adopted, he's Octavian, because in real life, he changed his name to Julius Caesar.
So he had 4 names.
There's more.
Oh, God.
So he changed his name to Julius Caesar. He got all his friends and everyone to call him Gaius Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Because he's now Julius Caesar's son, they share the name.
Right.
Historians, wisely, have decided that would be very confusing, so call him Octavian, which is a shortening of Octavianus.
Yes.
Which basically means you used to be Octavius. So you used to be Octavius, but you're now Julius Caesar. But we just call him, from now on, Octavian. That's what I'll be calling him.
Yeah, good.
So, Octavian goes back to Rome, says to Mark Antony, give me my cash. I was promised cash.
Cash.
And Antony goes,
Pocket money.
no, who are you? You're a little kid.
Ooh.
Go away.
Ooh.
No one at this point is expecting Octavian to do anything. He's
a nothing.
little sickly child who can't do anything.
Who's can't even go to war.
But he has one thing.
Ooh.
And that is that name. He's calling himself Julius Caesar.
Ah.
The armies loved Julius Caesar. So he's able to use his name to start raising the troops. So he's going around all the troops saying, I am Julius Caesar. And they looked at him and went, oh dear.
Quick!
I remember him looking a lot stronger than that. So the legions start following him.
Oh, that's
So
good.
he starts getting a bit of power. No longer can Antony just completely ignore him. And eventually he has to run away because Octavian's getting powerful enough.
Oh, so Mark Antony just legs it.
Yeah, Cicero, at the time, who hates Antony, despises Antony, thinks, oh, this little boy here, who's building up these legions, be able to use them against Antony. So he buddies up with Octavian and says, yeah, the Senate will support you. Get rid of Antony, he's a brute. So Octavian chases after Antony.
Right.
Antony runs away, and then Octavian, he sends a letter to the Senate and says, can I be consul? To which they laugh in his face. He's still a boy. No, you can't be consul.
Yeah.
So then he takes all his troops to Rome and goes, can I be consul? And at that point they go, okay.
Of course, yes. Please.
Didn't see that massive army there before when you sent your letter.
It was just a joke. Of course, don't kill me.
Yeah, but when we said no, we of course meant yes.
Yes, and please leave my family alone.
Yeah.
So I love my children.
And Octavian's now in charge in Rome. Cicero's
Nice.
regretting his decision. Antony's run away. 3 months later, however, Octavian then goes and meets up with Antony,
Okay.
and they reconcile.
Well, that's nice.
That is nice. Forming the triumvirate, the second triumvirate. That basically means 3 people in charge. The first triumvirate was Julius Caesar, Pompey the Great, and Crassus, who we didn't talk about last week. The second triumvirate, obviously, is Antony and Octavian.
Yeah, that's 2.
That's 2. The third one, just because there would be too much to go into if we went into it, is a man called Lepidus, and we're not going to talk much about him.
That's fine.
Because he didn't do much.
Fair enough.
He was pushed aside very quickly.
Bless him. Poor Lepidus.
So they decide, if we get together, we can rule Rome.
Yeah.
We don't need the Senate.
Piece of cake.
Easy peasy. And Antony says, only if we can kill such and such and such and such and such and such.
So he's had demands.
Yeah. And then Octavian goes, yeah, and should we get rid of such and such and such and such? In the end, they decide to put up a prescription list, just like Sulla did.
Oh, yes, and people just put their friends on and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So another list goes up, and the most famous person on this list is Cicero. Antony and Cicero hate each other. So Cicero is hunted down and killed. His head is chopped off, his hands are chopped off, his head is sent to Antony's wife, who stabs his tongue with needles because she hates him so much. It's not a good end for Cicero.
That's a bit dramatic.
It's a bit dramatic.
I mean, you cut his head off, then cut his hands off? What? Why?
Well, the head was to kill, The hands
Yeah,
were
well, of
more
course.
symbolic
Yeah,
to
well.
stop him writing all these things about Antony, which he was
Well, of
writing.
course, yeah.
And the stabbing in the tongue, obviously, to stop him saying, although a bit overkill once you've chopped someone's head off.
Yeah, I was going to say, he can't have been writing after he's lost his head.
Yeah, you probably could have stopped there, but...
Yeah, but, you know, symbolism.
Yeah, and the hands were nailed to the Senate door as well.
That's nice.
Yeah, just in
A
case
good
anyone
reminder.
didn't get the message.
Yeah.
Yeah, make
quite
it nice and
things.
clear. Okay, so then Antony and Octavian join forces and go and hunt down the assassins of Caesar. I gave you two
Brutus
names.
and Cassius.
Yes, Brutus and Cassius.
Yes.
So they go and hunt those down. Now, as always, we are brushing over quite a lot of stuff here. All I'm going to say about that is Antony and Octavian win. Because when we get to the Vitius Maximus round later, I'm going to go into detail of that battle.
That's fine.
Okay, so you just need to know that they win in the end. Right, then time goes on. Antony goes off into the east, falls in love with Cleopatra.
Oh, Egypt.
Yes,
Yes.
Egypt. Octavian goes back to Rome and tries to deal with the fact that the country's been fighting a civil war for about 100 years and the city is a mess, the country's a mess, there's no food.
Oh dear.
Antony's got the better deal here. He's swanning off in Egypt and
Playing with the pyramids and...
and everyone in Rome now hates Octavian because he's the one in charge and they have no food. So he's
Yeah, they're going to blame him whether he did it or not.
yeah, exactly. It's not looking good for him, and he's still this very young, weak, sickly man.
Yeah.
So it's
I will
not going
save
very well.
Rome.
Plus, Sextus Pompey,
Oh yeah.
Sexy P,
Oh,
by this time he has set himself up as a pirate.
oh fantastic.
Yeah, Sexy P
Yar.
the pirate. He's working from Sicily, and he pretty much owns the seas by this point. He's very good at being a pirate.
He owns the 7 seas.
Yeah, he started speaking like that.
Oh,
In fact, he starred himself as the son of Neptune.
Oh,
That's how good he felt he was.
That's a big ego, isn't it?
It is. So Octavian sits down hard and he thinks, what can we do about the pirate problem? So what does he do?
Yeah.
And this is the start of a pattern. He decides to get Agrippa on the case.
Ah.
Now Agrippa, as I mentioned earlier, is amazing. He is. If we ever decide to do special episodes on non-emperors, he's the first one we've got to do. He is the best of best friends a man can ever have.
Oh.
He just...
Did he just hold and hug you and tell you everything's going to be okay?
I bet he did that for Octavian. I
Oh.
bet he also built loads of ships and defeated the best pirates of the known world,
Oh.
which is exactly what he did. It's what you
Wow.
want your friends to do. Yeah. They couldn't build their fleet in the docks because Sextus would just come along and destroy them with his fleet.
Fair enough.
So they go to a big lake, build a huge canal joining it to the sea, and in secret build the ships, and then they sail them out. And it first attempt didn't go too well.
No.
And again, we're skimming over this a bit, but eventually, thanks to Agrippa, they do beat Sextus Pompey. Sexy P. They beat him, and he runs away, but then he's killed. All very dramatic. But the upshot is that Rome has grain again. Hooray! Food. They get to eat again.
Bread.
And Octavian can stop living in essentially a fortress because they had to literally brick up his house because they were so scared of the riots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not going well for him at all at this point. So now he's got a stronghold in the east. He's finally getting Rome back on its feet. He can finally start looking towards the west and thinking Antony's too big for his boots. So he starts a war of propaganda against him. Basically makes fun of him. It's mainly Cleopatra he uses as this weapon.
That would be easy, yeah.
Yeah, because Cleopatra is seen as this weird, crazy witch queen, and Antony's seduced by him and forced to do his bidding. So the people of Rome won't want Octavian fighting the famous Mark Antony, but they will want him fighting the evil witch queen.
Yes. Of Egypt. With her pyramids and her pet sphinx.
Yes. So in 32 BCE, he illegally obtained Antony's will and read it out loud.
Ooh, you're not allowed to do that, are you?
You're not. They had to literally break into this very sacred place and push aside the equivalent of nuns, the Vestal Virgins.
Yes.
We talked about them.
Push this.
Yeah, we push them aside, grab the will, and out they go. And the will essentially said, I hate Rome, everything to do with Rome. When I die, I want to get buried in Egypt. Everything that is in the East will go to my sons with Cleopatra. It was not good. The people did not like it at all.
I'm going to hazard a guess here. How accurate do you think that will was?
Well, that's
it's
it.
Propaganda.
We don't know because we can't tell. But
No.
it seems a silly thing for Antony to do.
Yeah.
If he thought he was going to win this civil war against Octavian, why would he give everything in the east to Egypt? He was still probably very much Roman, thinking Rome was the best. He just
liked witch queens.
Well, yeah, he enjoyed Cleopatra's company.
Yeah.
If you get my meaning.
I don't.
Do you not?
No.
No. In the same way Julius Caesar enjoyed her company. She was good with anecdotes, I think.
Yes. Maybe after dinner.
Yeah.
Parties, that kind of thing. Because I'm imagining like on a will, it has something like, I bequeath my best pair of socks to my fourth cousin. To my wife, I leave my second best bedpan.
Yeah.
And my prized spoon.
I'm not sure how much detail it went into. No. I'd like to think it went into that detail.
Yeah.
And if it was one of those small things that outraged them. He left his spoon to who?
A monster! Oh, the humanity!
I think it was more the him loving Egypt over Rome thing. Yeah. So, and again, I'm going to skip over a huge battle here because I'll go into it in detail in the Fightius Maximum round. But the two sides finally meet at Actium in 31 BCE, and Agrippa, note how I say Agrippa, was able to trap Antony's fleet. Antony attempts to break through, manages to get out, escape to Egypt. So the next year, Octavian invades Egypt, and Antony and Cleopatra commit suicide.
Yes, I know that. I watched the film.
Yes, that's a very famous story. I'll do a little bit more detail about that later. Right, so next, Becoming Augustus. I've got a subtitle in my notes there.
Ooh.
Yeah, see, I told you I was professional.
Yeah, it's in capital letters as well. I'm
bold.
Yeah,
I'm bold, so I don't get lost. So Octavian, by this point, is undisputed leader.
Yeah.
He's won the civil war. The last civil war of the Republic.
Oh.
So in 27 BCE, he finally gives up power.
What?
Yeah, he restores the Republic.
Oh, so he's just saying, I'm no longer the ultimate ruler.
Yeah.
You're now a republic.
And that's it. It was a Republic from then on.
Oh.
End of series. Yeah, job done.
That was easy.
That was easy. But the Senate apparently went, no, Augustus, or no, Octavius. No, was he Augustus at this point? Yes, it was around this time. So they probably went, no, Augustus, we can't possibly take all these powers back. You're so amazing. Keep them. And he went, oh, go on,
Oh,
then.
you've twisted my arm.
Twisted my arm.
I'll become ultimate leader and rule the whole country and get loads of money.
Yeah.
And all the fame and glory.
Obviously, all pre-planned. It was just a show.
Yeah.
But he styled himself as the restorer of the Republic. It was using language of the Republic. He did not style himself as an emperor at all. And that's why it worked. Because everyone at the time, without the benefit of hindsight, probably thought, yeah, okay, we're starting to become a republic again. So like I said, around this time, he stops being Octavian and becomes Augustus in the history books.
Yay.
He thought about being Romulus.
Ooh.
But it was decided a little bit too regal. He didn't want that association with kings.
That's true.
So Augustus was a brand new title no one had thought of before.
Okay.
Then in 19 BCE, instead of being a consul, because he just kept electing himself as consul year after year, like he would.
I vote for myself.
He then eventually came up with a brilliant idea that instead of being consul, he would be given the power of the consul.
So he's not going to be the consul, but he has the power of... So he is the consul, but he's not calling himself the consul.
Yeah, with great power comes no responsibility because he's passed that off. He's just keeping the
So
power.
he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, so
nice.
That way he can elect consuls and everyone feels happy, the Republic's ticking over, but actually he's got all the power.
So he's basically god of Rome.
Yes, he's there. Right, now in 23 BCE, he nearly died. He became very ill.
Yes.
And he started worrying because he needed a successor.
Oh.
If he died, everything would go to pieces. Now, this is where I'm going to try and explain the Julio-Claudian dynasty.
Oh dear.
Because we're going to need to know this as we go forward with the next few emperors. Now, to give you an example of what we're up against here, this is a quote from one of the books I've been using to research. Okay?
Right.
See if you can follow this.
All right. Easy. Go on.
Within 2 years, the widow Julia was remarried to Agrippa, who divorced Augustus's niece, Octavia's elder daughter, by her first marriage to marry her first cousin, who was also her sister-in-law. He had already a daughter by a still earlier marriage to the heiress daughter of Cicero's friend, Atticus.
That was lovely reading. Well done.
Yeah.
What?
Now, I know this fairly well.
Yeah.
I know the background, I'm
Yeah.
interested in it, and I've just spent a week studying it.
Yes.
I still haven't got a clue what that paragraph is saying. So, what we're going to do, I've tried to simplify it a lot.
Yeah.
And what the listeners don't realise is that Jamie writes notes when I'm talking.
I do, yes.
Which is really nice, because he can keep up. So what I want you to do, what I want you to do is draw a family tree on a fresh piece of paper.
Okay. Should we put this on the website?
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to put this on the website. This will be the official family tree.
You can hear the new page.
Yeah.
This is actually an art book as well, so it'd be good.
Oh, very
Should I use
nice.
pencil or pen?
Whatever's easiest.
Oh, yeah. Well, I may lost some. I'll use pen.
Use pen, be brave.
Okay. I'm committing. Right, so like a family tree here, or just like a map?
Family tree, map, however you want to set it out. We're going to try and explain the mess that is the Julio
Go nice and slow. Okay.
So, Octavian has a daughter called Julia with his wife, Scribonia. Around the time of the triumvirate, Augustus married Livia.
So Octavius then married Livia.
Yeah, he gets rid of Scribonia.
Ah.
Yeah, and marries Livia. Now, Livia was already married to Tiberius Claudius Nero.
So she was already married to Tiberius
Claudius Nero. Don't bother putting his name down. Just draw a happy face and then put a cross through him. He doesn't last long.
No, that's fine.
Right, so there's Livia.
Right.
Octavius meets Livia when she attends a party, falls madly in love with her. Scribonia is pregnant at this point with Julia.
Right.
And Livia's pregnant with Tiberius Nero, Claudius Nero's.
And that's Octavius's kid as well. Oh, no.
No. So she's got her own child. She's already got a child called Tiberius. You will need to make a note of him.
So is that the Tiberius' son as well?
Yes. So Livia has Tiberius' son. So just to recap, Octavius has a child called Julia.
Yeah.
He fancies Livia.
Yeah.
Livia's got a child called Tiberius.
Yes.
And is heavily pregnant with a second child who will be called Drusus.
Drusus. Is that a boy or a girl?
That's a boy.
Boy, okay. I'll give him glasses.
Now, bear in mind this is simplified.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it gets complicated because this is still the simple part. Right, okay, in 25 BCE, Augustus marries his daughter to Marcellus.
So Julia marries Marcellus.
Yeah, Julia marries Marcellus. So, Marcellus becomes the heir apparent. He's the one who's going to take over. So draw a little crown on him. Good, nice crown. Right.
Thank you.
So Marcellus, heir apparent.
Right.
But when Augustus fell ill, remember I said he fell ill in 23 BCE?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Marcellus is still a bit too young, so Octavius decides that Agrippa should take charge if he dies, and when Marcellus is old enough, Marcellus will take over.
Right.
So Agrippa basically acts as regent.
Right.
If he dies. However, what actually happens is, amazingly, Octavius recovers.
Oh.
And then Marcellus dies.
Ah.
Yeah, so put a little...
All right, I'll put a little tombstone.
Yeah, a little tombstone. He's dead. He was the heir apparent. He's now dead. So Augustus has another think, and he decides that since Agrippa was going to be the heir apparent, what Agrippa should do is divorce his wife and marry. Guess who he should marry?
Julia.
Yeah.
Hey.
She's widowed. So Agrippa marries Julia.
I'll draw Agrippa. I'll make him look quite tough.
Yeah, make him very tough because he was tough. Now Agrippa, remember, bestest friends with Octavian, and is now married to his daughter, so is now his son-in-law as well. That's nice.
That's clever.
Isn't that nice? Right. Those two have 5 children. Now, to keep this simple,
my goodness.
all I need you to do is put down 3.
Right.
Because the Romans were incredibly misogynistic, so we're going to follow that and ignore the daughters. They don't come back in the story.
Fine.
The boys do. We've got Gaius.
Hey.
We've got Lucius. And we've got baby Agrippa. Okay. So then, who's the heirs now?
Agrippa? Oh, you mean out of the boys? Would be the oldest, wouldn't it?
Yeah, which is Gaius. And Lucius back up. heir and
Okay.
the spare, as they
And
say.
baby Agrippa's just.
He's there. Well, we'll come back to him.
Okay.
So there we go. We've now got. Now the listeners can't see this, but it will be on our website, so you'll get to see the finished results. So we've now got Octavius, who has a daughter, Julia,
Yeah.
married to Agrippa, and their children
3
are
boys.
the heirs,
Yes.
Gaius and Lucius. But don't forget that Livia, Octavia's wife, has 2 children, Tiberius and Drusus.
And they're
Because
going to want a piece of that.
well, they
king
come
pie,
into
aren't
it. They definitely do. Now, Agrippa, cue sad music, dies in 12 BCE. All very sad. So that's Daddy dead. Agrippa's dead.
Right.
Now, Augustus realises that if he dies, those 2 infant sons will have no guardian. So he has Tiberius divorce his wife. Who should he marry?
As in Tiberius is in the one.
As in Livia's son.
Livia's son should. He's going to get Livia's son to marry Julia.
Yes, that's what he's going to do.
Right. Okay. So that. Wait. Okay. So his son is going to marry. No, his
Octavian's stepson.
is going to marry his daughter.
Yes.
That's a little bit weird.
It's a bit, but it could be worse. These are the
Yes, it
Romans.
could definitely be. It's true.
Right. How do you think Julia's feeling at this point?
A little bit used.
Possibly a bit used, and that might come back to bite them slightly. Okay, right. Tiberius is not very happy about what's going on.
Nope.
So he says, I've had enough of this, and he goes into self-imposed exile.
Okay.
Leaves Julia behind. Apparently Julia is, how can I say this politely? Experiencing life quite a lot
Okay.
throughout Rome.
So she's getting to know the culture quite well.
Yes.
Meeting
Yes.
lots of the citizens.
Right, so then
Ooh.
Octavian,
Julia.
or Augustus I should say by this
Yeah.
point, it's all going, it's not brilliant, but it's not too bad. He's still got Gaius, and
Yeah.
if not Lucius,
Yeah.
he's got an heir. Then Lucius dies.
So he ends up dead as well.
Yeah. And then Gaius dies 2 years later.
But he's the main heir.
Yeah, he was wounded in a siege, so he's old enough now to start taking part in warfare, and he was wounded, and he dies, so that's those 2 gone. So who's the heir?
Well, it's either going to be Tiberius or baby Agrippa.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, baby Agrippa apparently was such an unpleasant child. He was apparently so horrible,
Yeah.
Augustus exiles him to a
Ooh.
tiny little rock.
Just a little rock.
Yeah, little rock. Apparently it's
floating.
like half a mile square. It was tiny.
Oh, that's
also,
not
by this point, he gets wind of Julia's antics and
Yeah.
exiles her as well. So she's now
Ooh,
exiled.
Okay.
Yeah. All of this big, sprawling family tree, all we've got left now is
Tiberius and
Drusus.
Drusus.
well, put across through Drusus. He just
Oh.
fell off a horse.
Oh. Poor Drusus.
Yeah, poor Drusus. He fell off a horse. The fall
Horse wearing
didn't
a
kill him,
helmet,
but
I bet.
apparently he got infected or something. He dies.
Infected horse.
The- yeah.
Can you get infected by falling off a horse?
Got a bad case of horse falling on him. Yeah, no, the wound of the leg got
Yeah,
infected.
okay.
He died. So
Yes,
as you can see, it's now looking a bit thin,
Yeah.
this family tree, isn't it?
And I will say Tiberius is. Oh no, he's self-exiled, isn't he?
Yeah, so
There's no one.
Tiberius is on his own rock somewhere. So eventually, although Augustus is really annoyed with Tiberius for running off, he eventually brings him back and says, "Fine, you've got to come back. I've got no more heirs. Come back." So Tiberius goes back, and it's all okay, sort of. Augustus doesn't want Tiberius to be the heir. Tiberius doesn't want to be the heir either.
Really?
No, he's not too keen on this.
I thought he'd jumping at the chance.
No, he's not. We'll go more into that next week, obviously, because I've just given it away. That's where it ends up. Tiberius becomes the next emperor, but that was not the plan. It was never the plan.
Oh, really?
He was always the backup of, well, several down the line of backups.
Yeah.
We should have had Marcellus,
That all
Gaius,
died.
Lucius, and eventually it goes to Tiberius. So, hopefully that wasn't too confusing for the listeners.
Well, I'm sure the picture will definitely help, even though
Yeah.
I'm struggling. to
If you're
understand
struggling,
this.
just rewind it and go back, and you'll get to see the wonderful drawings of the happy faces. I
Yeah.
love how toothy Livia is. That's quite nice.
I just got that impression.
Well, apparently she was quite a looker.
Oh, really?
Really, really intelligent. Yeah. Okay, so, and that, well, good segue into Livia,
Yeah.
because there is actually a theory which I don't think is true at all, but it's a good theory. Look at all those crosses you've got on that family tree.
It's a lot
now.
of death. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a theory that Livia did it all.
What, really?
Because she wanted Tiberius to become the next emperor. So she killed off Marcellus, and then Gaius, and then Lucius, even Drusus.
So that must have mean she should have gone to war and killed Gaius. She must have been on the horse and pushed
Well, this
Drusus
is where
off
it
and-
falls apart slightly.
Yeah.
I mean, unless she went to that war and killed Gaius in the siege, it doesn't sound likely, does it?
And wrote all of baby Agrippa's rude and nasty speeches, so we got exiled that little...
Yeah, maybe she stood behind him and did a pantomime voice.
Oh, through a
I
voice.
don't like you.
I hate Rome.
Yeah, just kept doing that.
Yeah.
So that's out. And tip of the iceberg being she eventually murders Augustus. So Tiberius can become heir. This is the Livia killed everyone theory. It doesn't hold any water.
So she didn't actually kill
Well,
Augustus?
I personally
theory.
don't think so.
No.
But you make up your own mind.
Yeah.
The method apparently she killed Augustus is she went out into the fig tree place.
Where they grow fig trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And went to the trees that she knew that Augustus went to pick and poisoned them on the tree. And
Oh my
went and
goodness.
you'd just stab him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, right in the
It
right
just
in the neck.
doesn't seem likely. Anyway, so now we've gone through all of that. Finally, we get to his death. Now, there are some good things that we've missed out of his life, but this episode will just go on forever. So we're going to skip to the end there. He died on the 19th of August, 14 CE.
That's a hell of a coincidence that his name and August are so
I know,
similar.
it's such a coincidence, isn't it? Just shy of his 76th birthday.
Wow, that's really old for an ancient person.
Yes, he lasted a long time. We go into that in the Tempo Completo round. How
Yeah.
long he lasted.
Wow.
And it's looking good for that score, isn't it?
Well, he was young when he took power. It was,
Yes,
I'm guessing
he
like
was.
the 40s, 50 years he's been...
We'll come on to it, we
Oh,
will.
wow.
Let's go to our first round.
What?
Phytius Maximus.
Okay, in this round, I think as it's the first episode, let's explain it slightly. Phytius Maximus is the round where we discuss how fighty they were.
Yeah, so kind of like how invasion-y, how beaty-uppy they were.
Yeah, it might be on a large army scale, it might be on a personal scale. So to start this one off, I've printed off two maps here.
I can see. Yeah.
You can see one is the map of Rome at the start of Augustus's reign, and one is at the end. So for the listeners, can you explain the two maps?
Okay, so the top map is a map of Europe, and there are it's the Mediterranean area, and most of it is in dark orange, with obviously France and Spain and Italy and bits of North Africa and parts of the east as well, and Greece. And the bottom map has got the same dark orange bit. There's more sort of a darker yellow above Rome and Italy, and a big statue.
Yeah, I mean, if that's a lifelike statue, that means his statue was
Massive.
bigger than Italy itself. So I'm guessing that is there
That's very tall.
just to indicate Augustus was in charge.
I mean, that
I think it's
statue's...
stylistic.
Yeah, that statue must be like 400 miles tall.
Yeah, it's very big. But those lighter orange areas you mentioned are his expansion.
Okay.
So you'll notice that the Alps have now been taken.
I can see.
Which,
yeah.
although the Alps are very close to Rome, had never been taken by this point. It was full of tribes. So he managed to calm the Alps down and took over the Alps.
So why would you want to invade mountains? What use would they be?
I
Other
think-
than defensive...
It's a bit like you're colouring in. It's just that little annoying bit.
Yeah.
You've got everything around it, and there's just that little hole. You just, let's just get that bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I'd have to do that.
Check the sets
He's
as
also managed to join up, if you look over to modern day Turkey, he's managed to join that up to modern day Syria.
He's basically
area.
made it neater, hasn't
He's
he?
made it neater, he has. As an emperor, so here's one for points,
Go on.
he conquered more landmass than any other emperor.
Really?
Yes. No other emperor conquers that much in their reign.
Okay, so in terms of expansion or...
In terms of expansion. As he said himself, I'm going to refer to the Res Gestae a few times.
Okay.
This is a document he created at the end of his life that basically was, good stuff what I did.
So, yeah, I was going to say it's not going to be very self-deprecating, is it?
No, it's not, but it's still good to have a look at.
Yeah.
It was literally a big long list of the stuff that he'd done during his reign, so he could show off.
So what good stuff what he did did do.
This is what he said about extending territory. He said, I extended the territory of all the province of the Roman people, which had neighbours not obedient to our rule.
So basically, if they were different, they need to follow what we say,
Yeah.
and we'll keep fighting them till they do what we say.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Nice.
Okay. Right, I'm now going to cover 3 major battles.
Okay, go on. Well,
Right.
he's definitely earned a lot of points in terms of expansion, which
just
is good.
that. But, as you've already noticed...
He's a bit of a wimp.
Yeah, so that might go against him.
Personally.
First one is Philippi. So the battle in a place called Philippi. This is the one I brushed over earlier. So this is when Antony and Octavian are fighting Brutus and Cassius.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned this.
Brutus and Cassius are already there. Antony and Octavian arrive. And Octavian, get this,
Yeah.
he starts feeling ill. I know.
That's so unusual.
He must have hit his knee in frustration.
Yeah, yes. Damn you all to hell!
Antony took one look at him and then rushed ahead, made camp, and
Yeah.
said, right, I'm
Did all the
just...
fighting.
You know what, just stay here, you're a small boy. I'll go and sort it out. Octavian apparently very slowly followed in a
course,
litter.
yeah.
Because he wanted to get to the battle, just not too fast.
Yeah, I'm desperate to go. It's just this damn knee.
Now, according to Dio, Octavian heard of the situation and feared the outcome in either case, whether Antony acting alone should be defeated or should conquer.
Ooh.
So he's worried if Antony wins, Antony will be strong enough to defeat him afterwards.
Well, that's true.
If Brutus and Cassius wins,
He's dead.
they'll be strong enough to kill
Yeah.
him. So it doesn't look too good. So this is actually in Octavian's defence here.
Yeah.
He wouldn't want to not be part of this battle, so maybe he was genuinely ill.
Fair enough.
To begin with, it's a bit of a stalemate.
Yeah.
Octavian and Antony can't stay too long. They haven't got the provisions. So Brutus and Cassius are just trying to keep them there and not engage in battles. Antony cleverly tells his troops to silently create a pathway through some marshes and sneak round.
Sonny threw him off.
Yeah.
Spush, spush, spush.
Yeah,
Whole army of people.
Imagining a whole army. Well, they didn't just travel, they had to build like roadways
Oh, wow.
out of
Over the
planks of
marsh.
wood over the marsh.
Quiet with the hammer.
Hammer silently!
Tap.
It's not going in! Yeah, how they did
A
it.
little bit harder.
How they did that, I don't know. But, well, they didn't. Eventually, Cassius spots them.
Well, of course
And
he did.
And then a battle starts. So, but I mean, it did what it was supposed to do because the battle starts. They were able to get through. Antony and Cassius start fighting, and then Brutus and Octavian's men start fighting.
Ooh.
Notice how I say Octavian's men.
Yes.
I'll come back to that. Right.
Damn knee.
At the end of the day, there's a lot of dust. No one knows what's going on. It's been really dry for ages. There's dust everywhere.
Okay.
Cassius's men see some horses approach. The fighting's all stopped.
Yeah.
So Cassius thinks it's Antony's men and sends some people to go off and investigate. And he hears the clashing of swords.
Ooh.
So he suspects the worst. What do you think happened?
Did they attack? Was it a secret attack or was it just...
No, it wasn't an attack at all. Apparently, the people that Cassius sent saw Brutus's men saying, "We won our side of the battle. We've conquered Octavian's camp."
Oh.
And they all went, "Hooray!" And they whipped out their swords and they clashed them together with joy. Like you do.
Yeah, of course.
So Cassius thinks the worst and thinks, oh, it's a fight, it's all over. According to some sources, Cassius then kills himself.
Oh.
But according to the most reliable source I could get, actually, Cassius gets another message. One of Brutus's men comes up to him before he commits suicide and says, "Don't worry, Cassius. Brutus has won his side." And apparently Cassius turns to the messenger and says, "Tell him I wanted complete victory," and then kills himself. Yeah. So was it just the shame that Cassius, who was arguably the better general than Brutus, was just shamed that Brutus had managed to do better than he had? Okay, so I've mentioned Antony, I've mentioned Cassius, I've mentioned Brutus, I've mentioned
Octavian.
No, I haven't mentioned him, have I?
Oh no.
Yeah, he was in the marshes hiding for 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Apparently he was ill.
Yeah, well, of course.
He must have heard the battle.
Yeah.
Slapped his knee in frustration.
Damn you all to hell!
Yeah, it must have been quite frustrating for him.
Yes.
So, anyway, all the armies go back. So all of Brutus's men leave Octavian's camp, and all of Antony's men leave, and they all go back to their own camps, taking everything with them. So I just imagine all the belongings in both camps just swap.
Yeah.
Take everything. Oh, we've got nothing left. And then a few weeks later, a second battle happens. Nothing exciting this time. They just line up and fight, basically.
Okay.
Brutus loses. Apparently, it looks like Octavian, this is a first, was in this battle.
Doing what?
maybe looking from a distance.
Yes,
It's
the
hard to
water
say. I
boy.
certainly didn't find anything that suggested he did anything brave. And
I imagine him standing next to a little table, lots of water cups. So I've got refreshments and he needs them.
So Brutus dies. Antony accepts the fact that he was a senator. He treats the body with respect.
Yeah.
Then Octavian comes along, chops his head off.
First time he picked up a sword.
Has it sent back to Rome to
Yeah.
be thrown at Julius Caesar's statue's feet, but
Oh, nice.
the head never got there, unfortunately.
Lost
Now-
in transit.
Apparently, Octavian behaves a bit badly as well. A father and a son were held captive, begged for forgiveness, and Octavian said that one could live.
Oh, that's...
It gets better.
Oh.
Whoever won, essentially, an ancient version of rock, paper, scissors.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's one where you count fingers and numbers.
Yeah.
But it's rock, paper, scissors, essentially. The father and the son refused to play, so they just go for...
Oh.
Yeah. He's not
That's
being very
dark.
nice. It's dark, it is. This shows that he wasn't being very
I
nice
had a
at all.
little bit of respect for him.
Well, yeah, he's
I'm
not...
losing it now.
Yeah, it's not all roses when you
No.
dive into it. So, next battle, Actium. Actium, if you remember, is the battle when Octavian and Antony are fighting each other
Right.
for who then
Yes,
takes charge.
that was it.
So this is in 32 to 31 BCE. So this is in Greece. Antony camps near a place called Actium.
Yeah.
First of all, Agrippa managed to take the town of Torn. Torn was the ancient Greek for a ladle, like a soup ladle.
Oh, yeah. I've got one of them.
Yeah. So have I. It's a coincidence, isn't it? So when Antony and his generals hear about this, apparently Cleopatra, no one wanted Cleopatra there. Again, the misogyny of the Romans. No one
Yeah.
wanted her there. And you can just imagine them all sitting around hearing this bad news that Octavian's men have arrived.
Yeah.
And Cleopatra cracked a joke and said, "What's so terrible about Octavian getting hold of a ladle?" That is probably the reaction that you got in the tent at the time.
Just a lot of awkward silence.
Lots of awkward silence, people grinding their teeth.
They're kind of in the background.
But what it actually meant is Octavian's now able to get all his troops over. He's actually quite important. Then Agrippa,
Yeah.
manages to take the island of Lusus, giving him safe harbour right on Antony's doorstep. Supplies were running low for Antony's men.
Yeah.
Lots of client kings that Antony had come along and said, "Come and fight for me, we're bound to win," started to run away. Some were caught and executed. A Roman senator tried to escape, and Antony had him tied to 4 horses and pulled apart.
Oh.
Yeah, see,
Ooh.
see, none of them are nice.
No.
That's a bit mean, isn't it?
Just, it'd be really awkward if the horse all ran together in the same direction.
Yeah,
Just dragging him for 4 miles.
Or if one horse goes and just an arm comes off,
Ooh.
And-
Yeah.
because you wouldn't get all 4 limbs come off at the same time, would you? You'd
A
just...
different. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get the feeling that they'd practiced how to do it quite a lot.
Yeah,
So
and
they
how do
knew
you
how
get
to-
horses to run in different directions at the same point?
What I would do is I'd build 4 fences in a cross shape
Yeah,
and facing outwards, and
Yeah.
the horse would be sort of tethered to each thing.
yeah.
So they have to go in that direction. Guy in the middle, one
Yeah.
person behind each horse, whack on the arse,
Put a carrot.
a carrot
At the end.
a carrot, and have one of those little rabbits that run up the side of the
Yes.
fence, so the horse can chase the
Because horses
rabbits.
do that.
Yes,
They do. Ancient horses did anyway.
Yes.
They were a lot more vicious.
Yes.
Okay, right, so now we've
Teeth.
decided exactly how that could happen. We can move on. Right. Right, one man did manage to defect and told Octavian a full account of Antony's secret plan. That's
Ooh.
capitalised in my notes.
The ACP.
The ACP.
No, the ASP.
A sea battle starts.
Right.
Now the odds are 2-1 in Agrippa's favour. Sorry, Octavian's favour. And I'm not going to describe the battle. Plutarch is going to describe
Plutarch.
Yeah,
Yes.
famous historian where we get a lot of his information. The fighting took on much of the character of a land battle, or, to be more exact, of an attack of a fortified town. 3 or 4 of Octavian's ships clustered around each one of Antony's, and the fighting was carried on with wicker shields, spears, poles, and flaming missiles, while Antony's soldiers also fired catapults from the wooden towers.
Ooh.
So Gon has the whole charging into each other with
Yeah.
the pointy bits, and Gon's your secret weapon of your big plank with a nail in the end.
Big nail.
Big nail. Now they are essentially fighting land battles where they're trying to get onto each other's ships. They're firing things
close
at each
combat.
other. So this secret plan.
Yes.
What do you think it is?
He could either go around the outside and try and sort of flank them in a pincer motion.
Nice.
That's what I would consider doing. I also consider just, retreating, or using fiery things to shoot fire at them.
You actually got it. It was the second one. His secret plan was to run away.
Yeah, that's also what I would do.
He basically used most of his fleet to distract, and as soon as the wind changed, Cleopatra's ship legged it.
Yeah, run away.
Run away. And then Antony tried to run away, but his ship was too engaged in battle, so he jumped into a little rowboat, got onto another ship, and then ran away in that ship.
Oh.
So some good work went into that running away.
Oh, yeah.
So Octavian then spent a sleepless night on the ship, because by that point it's dark.
He's probably seasick as well.
There's no... Actually, he was. There's a case that he got seasick. So he was there, seasick, Agrippa doing all the work, probably slapping his legs in frustration.
Damn you all to hell!
So eventually, light comes up, they take account of the ships and go, oh look, we won.
Oh.
Because that's how you'd have to do it back then. You just wouldn't know until...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, did we win? I don't know.
Probably.
It's a lot of screaming. Is that good?
Yeah, there's a big puddle of blood over there.
Yeah. So they realised it was a victory. But Antony and Cleopatra had run off, which wasn't a huge problem. They knew that they'd won, basically. So it took them a year to get over there. But Octavian and Agrippa go off to Egypt, set up their army, and Antony raised an army. One last big fight.
Yes.
And they go out onto the field. This is the end of the film, the climax.
Is this in Egypt here?
This is in Egypt.
Like sandy desert area.
Sandy desert.
Lots of bronze and
pyramids in the background.
Blazing sun.
Yeah,
sweat.
Cameras panning across lots of feet marching.
Oh, yeah. Just the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got that right.
Yeah.
Armies line up.
Yeah.
Antony turns to his men.
Yes.
And realise they've all run away.
Oh.
Or surrendered. His men basically go, nah, we don't want to do
That's
this.
embarrassing.
That's very embarrassing. Antony finally decides to go down fighting, and he can't because his army give up.
Yeah.
So he storms back to the palace and asks for Cleopatra. Cleopatra told a slave to say that she was dead. Didn't want to meet him. Either scared of his reaction or whatever.
Embarrassed.
Yeah. So Antony's, by this point, beside himself. His army's deserted. Cleopatra's deserted. So he stabs himself to death. But he missed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he stabbed himself in the stomach and didn't die. And he was screaming in agony. And then Cleopatra decides to go and see him then.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you've just stabbed yourself in the stomach because the woman you love's died.
Yes. Oh, actually, it was only a joke.
Yeah, I'm not dead.
Sorry.
It's like, you... Oh, yeah.
You complete...
Yeah, and then died. For decency's sake.
Yeah.
Antony had a final glass of wine, which I like to think kind of poured out the holes. And then died.
Yes.
Octavian goes and meets Cleopatra, and then Cleopatra kills herself. The last battle I'm going to talk about, very briefly, is the Teutoburg in Germany. This is right at the end of Augustus's reign. He's too old to go off and battle himself now. He used to when he was young.
Yeah.
He was so old that when he realised there had to be a fight, he slapped his legs in frustration.
Oh, damn!
So he couldn't go. He wanted to push the frontier to the Alb, the River Alb, which is beyond the Rhine.
Yes. That's quite north, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite far. And they were doing quite well.
Yeah.
This was part of the expansion. And then a general called Varus was sent in.
Yeah.
And he was doing all right. He was generally cleaning up the place. Nothing much was expected. It seemed like it was all okay. We'd got it up to the Alb. We're all okay. Now, I've got a quote here to describe what he was like. He thought the Germans were people with no qualities but speech and limbs.
They could talk and move.
They could talk and move, and that those that could not be conquered by the sword could be tamed by law. With this in mind, he entered the heart of Germany, as if among men who rejoiced in peace, and he spent the summer season in the pleasure of holding correct legal etiquette. He came to see himself as the city praetor, giving judgment in the forum, not as a general commanding an army in the middle of Germany. The fool.
So they're basically criticising him for being a politician.
Yes, all the blame goes to this Varus. You could argue it was his fault because he had some help from a local called Arminius, who was, and again I quote, very intelligent for a barbarian.
Oh.
So he had more qualities than just speech and limbs. He could actually think.
Yeah.
Now Arminius was so intelligent for a barbarian that he convinced Varus that there were no hostile tribes in the area whatsoever for hundreds of miles.
Definitely not. No one here at all.
So basically he says to Varus, just go up that road, up there. Ignore the rustling in the leaves. It's a bit windy, that's all. There's no one around.
Definitely not. And that metal shink you hear, that's just, it's probably a bird.
Yeah. Ignore that tittering noise.
Yeah.
Birds
What
again.
an idiot.
3 legions go down this path. 3 whole legions, not in battle formation.
No.
Just in their sandals, their sun hats.
Sunglasses.
They're not prepared to fight, and suddenly it's an ambush, and there were people, and they attacked.
My goodness.
They're wiped out, all 3 legions completely wiped out. Augustus, apparently, from then on, until he died, would occasionally, without any warning, shout out, Varus, give me back my legions!
I can't.
Yeah, just out of the blue. It says without warning. I don't know how much without warning, whether it was literally in the middle of a conversation, or when he was on the toilet, or...
Varius, give me back my legions! And I said to him, pass the mint sauce.
Yeah, so who knows? But he wasn't very happy about it. So that's an overview of his fighty
I think that's
Maximus. So we are now going to score out of 10. We're going to give out of 10 each and combine those 2 scores.
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, he made a lot of expansion, definitely. I think he couldn't have done that with people like Agrippa.
Agrippa is the key.
It's
Without
the leader,
Agrippa, none of this would have happened.
It's the generals. Although you could argue he led it.
Yeah.
I think he did very little. I'm going to give him I'm going to give him a 3.
A 3? That is very low.
I'm being brutal.
Considering
I'm being brute.
He expanded the empire more than any other, and
But
he's still going below 5.
But because I think it was more of his generals. I don't think he probably said, I want that. They had to do with that.
Could you give him points for acknowledging the fact that he had better generals than him?
Okay, I'll give him a 4.
Can we give him a 4? Right, I agree. He clearly wasn't good at fighting himself.
No.
But you've got to give him credit for expanding the empire.
Yes.
And you've got to give
That's
him
why he got
credit
the
for
3.
using those generals. And he expanded more than any other.
He gained a lot of ground, but I'm guessing the ground he gained was from, it was pretty empty, like the Alps. Not there anywhere.
Yeah.
If you go, you can't take down a few mountain goats and say, yes.
Okay. Well, you see, the other thing is we need to bear in mind, we're going to go through a couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
100 years of expansion, and then the Roman Empire is starting to decrease. So if we go too low here, those emperors that are actually losing land, where do we go with that?
That's okay. Now you put that more into context.
Yeah.
I will go then to a 6.
You're
I'm
going
happy
to
to put it up
6.
to a 6.
See, I was thinking 6 all along. So should we both go for a 6?
Yeah, and that's not just because I made the next episode easier.
Well, he obviously can't get high marks because
he didn't lose much. He gained a lot, but he just lost battles.
He won lots, but he was also quite clearly not involved in a lot of battles.
Yeah, because that damn leg.
So that's 6 each. So that is a total of 12 out of 20 for Phytius Maximus.
Approbium Crazium.
Okay, so in this round, this is how notorious they were. So it might be small personal things. Are they literally insane? It might be some harsh laws they've put in. I've got some things that will get him points. Now I've put it under good, as in it will get him points, but obviously it's a list of things that aren't good.
Yeah.
Prescriptions.
Like for medication.
No, the bad ones.
Oh.
That's the list up in the form of people to die.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was not good, is it?
No, that's not nice.
Also, Cicero was killed in those.
Yeah.
Cicero, one of the greatest orators known to man, killed because of Augustus.
He could turn a phrase, couldn't he?
He could turn a phrase. So that was not a good thing.
No, that's not very nice.
He apparently once saw someone transcribing his speech that he didn't like, so stabbed him to death. I can only help but think this is the ancient version of when like a really famous pop star hits a member of the press for taking too many photos.
Or a band on stage, they see someone filming it on their phone.
Yeah, and they walk
mental.
off. But in this case, he just stabbed him to death. So that's a bit. Yeah. There was more in this than I thought, because it gets better. Right, Gallus, who was a senator, apparently had some writing tablets under his robes.
Right.
Now, Augustus thought that it might have been a sword, but didn't want to lose face by having him searched. So instead, had the man arrested and tortured, and then, personally, tore the man's eyes out. Personally. Tore his eyes out.
Tore his eyes out.
It's not the image of Augustus that I've ever had.
No, that's vicious. That's
now,
brutal.
In Augustus's defence, he claims that the man was guilty and it was a sword, and he was just exiled, but unfortunately disappeared.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The problem vanished.
Yeah. Oh dear. We sent him just down the road to that nice villa, but he's gone now.
Yes.
He's never coming back.
Ever.
Yeah. So
what are these two things on the floor? Never mind.
They're squidgy. They're looking at me.
Stop staring.
Right. Okay. So
wow.
There's some quite personal, crazy things. Right, and then another thing that shows that he was a bit of a mean guy. Do you remember baby Agrippa?
Yes, little baby one.
Exiled because he was a bit horrible?
Yes, on the little rock.
According to some sources, Augustus, to make sure Tiberius would be able to take over smoothly, on Augustus's deathbed, he ordered his grandson to be killed.
Baby Agrippa to be killed?
Yeah.
But why?
Because he might come back and claim the throne, and Augustus realised that baby Agrippa was an awful human being. Right, so that's reasons why he should maybe get some high points in this. On the other hand, I couldn't actually, bizarrely, I thought I'd be able to find loads why we shouldn't give him high points.
But these are only like, okay, I know they're really some really, really bad things, like the whole eye thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't large scale. There are no like
it's not large
wasting
scale.
Of cities.
Yeah,
there probably was. I'm guessing battles, but
yeah,
it doesn't. They don't. It's nothing no one else would have done at the time in battle. I think he should score relatively low on that. I think it's pretty.
Let's also say why shouldn't he was very stable.
Yeah,
and he was obviously not insane.
Yeah, well, no more than anyone else.
Not being insane actually counts a lot for Roman emperors in these early days, as we will see in future episodes.
Excellent.
So, I don't know. I think he's clearly done some bad stuff. I think he's going to score higher than I thought he would. I thought this was not going to be his round, but then he tore someone's eyes out.
With his bare hands or a big ladle.
Yes, maybe. That he got in Greece.
I think I'm going to score a 2.
I'm going to go... Low. Oh, I've got to give him a couple more points for the eyes. I'm going to give him a point each for the eyes.
So you're going to go 4?
And I'm going to give him... Oh, don't forget the rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, was it him that decided it didn't do that?
Yeah, that was him.
Okay.
So I'm going to give him a point for that.
Okay, 3. I'll give him 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 4. So that is a
7.
7.
For Opprobrium Crazium.
Successus Ultimus.
Okay, in this round, generally, how good were they? If you remember, I talked about the res geste, the what I did, what was good.
Yeah.
He produced his
accurate
death.
biography.
So he described what he did as, I liberated the state, oppressed by the power of a faction.
Oh, that's 10 points there. There you go.
Yeah, that basically is, you know all that stuff with Antony and Brutus and Cassius? I sorted that out.
Yeah, I killed them.
There's a lot to be said for that. This is a long time of civil unrest he put an end to.
Oh, well,
he stabilised the government. There was a lot to be said for that. Also, because I like maps, I liked this one.
You do like maps,
He
true.
commissioned a map. Agrippa helped a lot, obviously.
Of course.
Obviously. Just imagine him in the morning. What should we do today, Agrippa? Well, I've been thinking a map, sire.
Brilliant!
Yes, a map. Let's do a map. Right. They decided to put a map up in the forum so people could see the empire and people would come along and copy it down.
And that's glorious. Also, look how much we have.
Yes, exactly. We do not have this map, but based on some descriptions, people have tried to recreate it. Now, I've got a picture of it here.
Wow.
And again, we put it up in the on the website. So, for the listeners, describe that map.
Incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah.
Well, it's first of all, it's round. Like it looks almost like a big round island with a bit of sea in the middle.
Yeah, that being the Mediterranean.
There's Britannia. Oh no, I can see it.
Yeah, you're getting it now.
Okay, yes. It's from a different perspective.
Yeah,
That's
what I find interesting, what is up is what we would consider west.
Yes, that's very interesting.
So if I turn the page this way, does that now start looking a bit more familiar?
That does. I mean, it's still not accurate, but that's because Africa's way bigger than that.
Yes, well...
And it doesn't have all that writing on as well.
And if you overlay in your mind what you know about how much territory they hold, the Romans at the time thought they controlled most of the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
See, we'll put it up on the website.
It's got the nice colours on it as well.
Yeah.
These blue for the sea and everything.
Other good things, what he did. One governor of Syria convinced the locals to align their calendar with Rome to begin the year with Augustus's birthday. Because, and I quote, Augustus might justly be considered equal to the beginning of all things, for he has given a different appearance to the world, a world that would have met with ruin had he not been born.
That was very dramatic.
It's a bit over the top, isn't it?
That was almost Charlton Heston.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing that's how he said it at the time, because it's so over the top. He essentially is saying August.
A lot of hand gestures as well.
Yeah, probably. He loved him, clearly. Or he was angling for a better job than the governor of Syria. Okay, my next point. He started the empire. You've got to give him a big tick for that.
I guess so, yeah.
We wouldn't be doing this without him, so you've got to do that.
That's true.
Right. Next, I've not talked really much about this. There's a famous quote given to Augustus, which is, he found a city of brick but left a city of marble. In fact, he was rather proud of himself, because he listed in the what I did, what was good list, what he did, what was good. It's a bit of a lengthy one. Are you ready?
I think so.
I built the Senate House, the Chalcidium adjacent to it, the Temple of Apollo on the Palatine with its porticos, and the Temple of the Divine Julius. I restored the Capitol and the Theatre of Pompey, both at great expense, without having my name inscribed on either. I restored the channels of the aqueducts, which were falling into disrepair through age, and I brought water from a new spring to the aqueduct called Marcia, doubling the supply. I completed the Forum Julium and the Basilica between the Temple of Castor and Temple of Saturn, works begun, almost finished by my father, and when that same Basilica was destroyed by fire, I began to rebuild it on enlarged sites, to be dedicated in the name of my sons, and in case I don't complete it in my lifetime, I have given orders that it should be completed by my heirs. In my 6th consulship, I restored 82 temples of the gods on the authority of the Senate, neglecting none that required restoration at the time. I built the Temple of Mars and the Forum of Augustum on private ground from the proceeds of booty.
Booty.
He did a lot.
He did, yeah.
And he was proud of it. I particularly like the without having my name inscribed on either.
I thought it was very funny.
I did that, right? I don't want anyone to know. I didn't put my name on it, but I'm just going to write that I did that, put it on bronze tablets and have them nailed up all around Rome. But I don't want the credit.
Yeah, we'll keep it subtle.
Yeah, we'll keep it subtle.
No one needs to know.
So that was good. And also, you'll like this, he built a massive artificial lake.
Yeah.
And held a mock sea battle for the people to watch.
That's quite nice.
That is quite nice. There's some suggestion that Agrippa organised that.
Well, of course he did.
Well,
he probably built the aqueducts and built the temples as well.
No, he did.
Single-handedly.
Actually, he was he was in charge. In fact, he took a step down to just be in charge of the building of the city for a while, so he could design the aqueducts and the temples. Augustus finally said, according to Suetonius, "May it be my privilege to establish the state in a firm and secure position, and reap from that act the fruit that I desire, but only if I may be called the author of the best possible government, and bear with me the hope that when I die, the foundations which I have laid for the state will remain unbroken."
So he's kind of he's building legacy there, isn't he?
Exactly. He wants what he's built to last, and to be fair to him, it does for a long time. Okay, so I mean that's a lot in the plus points there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So let's try and find some bad. There really wasn't much. Civil War. He was part of the Civil War at the start. And you can give him credit for ending the Civil War, but the Civil War wasn't good.
So I would argue though, because he didn't cause it, he became a part of it, but he ended it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would say that's not a bad point at all.
So the only other thing I could come up with, he was a liar, because he said he restored the Republic,
but he didn't.
didn't. The way he became the emperor
Yeah.
was to tell everyone he was just giving all the power back to the Republic, but actually he was consolidating power
He's
himself.
manipulating, wasn't he? He was twisting it a
He
little
was
bit.
twisting, he was manipulating. So, and there's just one more thing, which I'm not really sure is good or bad, but I need to mention them now because they're going to be very important.
Right.
The Praetorian Guard,
Right.
which were around, make a note of that name. They were around before, but they really come into their element under Augustus. They become the guards inside Rome. So you've actually got a military presence in Rome now. You didn't before. You don't have the legions, but you do have the Praetorian Guard, and their job is to protect the emperor.
So it's a bit like the Beefeaters in London.
Yeah.
Like Queen
But
protection.
they probably didn't look so stupid.
No.
No.
But you wouldn't say that's their faces.
Oh no, they've got guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they march really heavily.
Yeah. So we'll just see how this goes with the Praetorian Guard. Just keep them in the back of your mind. Right,
I bet it all goes well.
Scoring. I can't see how I can't give him a full 10.
I would struggle. There are almost no negatives in lots of ways. I'll go for 10 as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is why he's considered the best emperor. It's all this stuff that he did. So I think I'm going to have to say 10. You're saying 10, so
I think, yeah, so for Successus Ultimus...
that is 20.
Imago Facius.
Okay, we've now got 2 small rounds. These ones are only out of 5. Imago Facio is the first one, and this is where, after I've been talking about this person for a while, I'm going to show an image of the emperor to Jamie for the first time and see if it matches, so you get to see it. In fact, I've chosen 2, and again, we'll put these on the website. So, explain what you can see.
Right, there are 2 images I can see, glinting in the sunlight. The first one is, he looks very regal. He's got quite a short haircut, almost like a bowl cut, and wearing full armour, which is weird because he never fought. He's got his arm sort of raised, as if in speech, and he's quite stern looking, but quite soft features, quite slim.
Yeah, he's young, isn't he?
Yes, he looks quite almost effeminate.
Yeah, slightly. No, it's interesting that he's young. Apparently, his statues never aged.
Well, statues don't.
Maybe I should clarify.
It's rock.
You wouldn't expect the statues to age with the person, but you would
Yeah.
expect the statues of him made in later life would reflect what he looked like.
Like in our coins, we get the Queen from '97, which is quite a young image, but now it's sort of like...
When a new coin looks out and you look at it and go, oh dear.
Oh, God.
Won't get many more of these, will we?
No.
Um,
But yeah, his features are quite soft, actually. I mean, he's got quite... I mean, the second image is a kind of close-up of a face. He's wearing sort of a cowl.
This was more of him in his priestly Pontifex Maximus role.
Which he's trying to obviously emphasise that quite strongly.
Yeah, so quite soft features. Not someone you can imagine gouging someone's eyes out. Okay, well, I've also got Suetonius' quote of what he looked like. Apparently, with body and limbs so beautifully proportioned, one did not realise how small the man was until someone tall stood close to him. I'm guessing that tall person was Agrippa.
But the thing is, you never know how big anything is until you compare it to something else. So.
And the other that's a very good point.
You know, so, oh my god, that ant is massive. Oh wait, no, it's not.
No, now he's next to that elephant. It's rather small.
Yeah.
Okay, so how we score this? We both score out of 10 based on do they look like we think they should look. That is very subjective. And then to reduce that score down to 5, because we don't want to give too much weight to this, we just divide the total score by 4.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. So,
I think it does look exactly how I sort of imagine him, really.
see, I'm very biased here because I already knew, I've got a strong image of him in my head. And also, again, HBO's Rome, I think the second actor they got to play him actually looks quite like that.
Really?
So I'm trying not to be biased, but he looks like someone who could just take charge and...
I think so.
Yeah.
He looks quite softly spoken. He's not someone that looks like he would shout.
Would you follow this man into battle?
Well, he never went into battle.
That's
so
a good
no.
point. Would you follow him up to the point where he said, "Off you go, guys. I'm just going to go into my tent"?
Possibly. He seems he seems quite trustworthy.
He does.
Obviously, wouldn't want to annoy him. So
I'm going to give him
an
an 8 out of 10.
I think I'm going to go to 9
9
out of 10. I think.
Okay. So that is a total
Score of 17.
divided by 4. So that is a score of 4.25 for Imago Facio.
Tempo completo.
Okay, final round, Tempo Completo. How long did he last? Now again, this is only going to be out of 5. We'll do the scores in the same way. So, He reigned for 40 years, 7 months and 3 days.
That's a
We're just
long
going to
time.
say 40 years because it's the longest reign and that will make everything else a lot easier.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is that 40 years now becomes the 100% mark.
Ooh, yes, I like that.
So that 40 years straight away gets translated to a score of 5.
Yeah.
He scored 4 marks.
Yes.
Now, from next week onwards, we will find the percentage of that based on Augustus's reign because his reign was the longest.
Yeah.
So now we are just left with the all-important question: does he have that certain je ne sais quoi?
Do they have a certain je ne sais quoi?
Initially, I'm going to say yes. I think he definitely does.
It's impossible not to give
Yeah.
it to him. He's the most well-known. I think if we didn't give it to him, all the listeners would just say, what? These guys don't
Yeah.
know what they're talking about.
And to be fair, we don't, but it's
don't, but-
obvious that he needs it because he invented Rome. He invented the empire.
He's the first emperor.
Yeah.
It's where it all begins. He's scored 10 for his successor, Ultimus.
Yeah, and he's
That's
the
hard to
longest
do.
lasting one.
He was the
100%.
longest lasting. He had the best friend ever.
And his bust is spectacular.
Yeah, so that is a yes. He goes into the Colosseum, which
Oh, yeah.
is where we will get all of the emperors that have a certain je ne sais quoi at the end to fight each other. So our first
Yes.
entry into the Colosseum.
We'll lock him away.
Okay, right, that was probably a long episode.
It probably was.
The episodes won't stay this long, I don't think. It's just
No.
Augustus had such a long reign and we had so much to talk about.
That's very interesting
They
as
will
well.
probably start getting a bit shorter. Okay, to finish off, if you want to contact us,
Please visit our WordPress website. We've also got a Facebook and a Twitter. And please also, if you've obviously found us on Podbean to download or listen to, and on iTunes as well.
yes, we're not actually up and running on iTunes yet, but as soon as we are, which hopefully will be by the time you hear this,
Oh yeah.
leave a review with 5 stars on it,
Yeah.
and good things will happen to you. That's a fact.
Yes, good. Lots of good things. So, for example, you might have a really nice day.
Yeah, it's a scientific fact.
Yes, it's true.
With no evidence. Okay, and so finally, we need to do our weekly thank you to the Wax Factor for allowing us to
Yes.
steal their format.
Yeah,
Go and listen to their show.
It's genuinely really good. I've just started listening to George II,
It's like this, only more well practiced,
and much better.
a better researched, and
And
original, which is always good. You get that whiff of originality that
Yes.
you don't get on this show. Okay, I think maybe leave it there.
I think
Next
that's very
week,
good.
do you know who it is?
Tiberius.
Tiberius. Don't forget, Jamie will put all his notes up on the website. You'll get to see all his doodles. Okay, we'll be
Bye.
back next week. Goodbye. Now, word from our sponsor.
Are you afraid that your baby may not succeed in life?
Are you scared that they'll amount to nothing just like you?
Buy the new Harris Ignitus.
Wait till the king and queen are passing, pour on the Harris Ignitus onto your baby's head and set the head aflame.
The queen will be so impressed, she will ask the king to adopt your child, and you'll never see them again.
Warning, may cause disfigurement, shortly before an agonizing death.